Hi, I'm Matt from Trikes, and today I'm going to show you how to build the KMX Tornado F3. In the box with the F3, you'll find your front wheel assemblies, your rear wheel, seat, boom, and parts box. In the small parts box, you'll find chain, a rear derailleur that we'll use as a chain tensioner, rear fender, mounting hardware for the wheel assemblies, derailleur hanger, seat mounting hardware, hardware for the rear wheel, tools, pedals, tie rod bolts, tie rod, zip ties, and reflectors, as well as the assembly instructions. The wheel assembly mounting hardware consists of 2 M10 bolts, 4 large flat washers, 4 bushings, and 2 M10 nuts, as well as 2 caps for the spindles. First, you're going to use 2 of the bushings. You're going to place one in the top and one in the bottom of the spindle here, and then slide it over the head tube and bearings. Next, take one of the M10 bolts with a washer on it and slide it through the top. Next, we'll do the right hand side. Again, put the bushings in the top and the bottom, slip it over, send one of the M10 bolts through the top with a washer installed. Once you get the bolt installed and the nut on the back side, you can then use the tools provided to tighten everything up. Once you have the bolts installed and tightened down, you can then install the caps. Once you've installed the front wheels, you're going to go towards the back of the trike. You're actually going to install the derailleur hanger first. So it's usually easiest to just start these screws by hand. Just start threading all 3 screws. And you'll need a number 2 Phillips blade screwdriver to tighten the derailleur hanger screws. Next, we're going to install the rear wheel. You'll need the bag of hardware for the back wheel. And what this has got is a small length of cable for the derailleur / chain tensioner, a cable tip, a bolt and nut, and a torque arm. So you're actually going to remove the no-turn washer here on the non-drive side or the left side of the wheel. You're going to just do away with that, and then loosen the opposite side here, and then slip the torque plate onto the axle. Just start the threads for the rear wheel axle bolt. Once you get the axle up into the dropouts, you're then going to run the bolt through the torque plate into the disc brake mount on the trike. You can then tighten the axle nuts by hand, and then use the 15mm wrench to tighten down the rear wheel. Next, you're going to install the rear derailleur / chain tensioner. And that's just going to take the 5mm Allen and thread that right into the hanger there. What you're going to want to do is loosen the clamp bolt here. Take that length of brake cable, send it down through the cable stop and into the clamp. Once you've got it through the cable stop and into the clamp, you're actually going to push the derailleur over into the position where the upper cog is directly lined up with the cog on the wheel, and then tighten it down. If it's not quite lined up directly, you can push the derailleur to the side and use the adjuster to bring it directly lined up. Next step is going to be to install the tie rod. So you're going to send the bolt through first, then the thin metal washer, then the spacer. Next, install it into the kingpin assembly. Then you're going to use the large flat plastic washer, and then the large flat metal washer, followed by the nut. Again, it's the bolt, thin metal washer, spacer, then into the kingpin assembly, plastic washer, and then the metal washer, finally the nut. Next, we're going to clip the shift mechanism into the cable. So you send it underneath, wrap the cable around the axle here. It's actually going to lock in to a portion on the hub, and you can pull the adjuster back that actually locks into the fulcrum arm. That's what this thing's called here. You just pull back on that, and it'll just seat and lock into place. To adjust the hub and the shifter, you put the selector in second gear, and this arrow should be pointing at these two yellow lines. Next, you're going to install the boom. Note, every boom has a maximum mark on it, which means that's how far you can pull the boom out of the frame. If you ever see that line, you shouldn't pull the boom out any farther. The best way to install the boom is usually put the bottom in and then kind of rock the top up and then slide it into the frame. Sometimes they need a little persuading. Next, we're going to install the pedals. Each pedal has stamped on the inside of the spindle an L and an R. This is left and right. Now, left and right is always from rider's perspective. So as if you were sitting on the trike, this would be right and this would be left. It's worth noting that the left-hand pedal has left-handed threads. So you're actually going to insert it and turn it counterclockwise to get the thread started. And then you're going to rotate the right-hand pedal clockwise, just like normal. I usually find it's easiest once both sides are started to just rotate the crank backwards, hold on to the spindle of each pedal. To install the seat, slip the upper stays over the lower stays. Next, install the seat stay bolts. Next, we're going to install the lower seat mounting hardware. You'll find that 2 of the plates are not threaded and 2 of the plates are threaded. So first, you're going to insert the bolts into the non-threaded plates and then slip a shim over the bolts. Next, you're going to slide the threaded plate through the bottom of the seat, and then insert a shim in between the seat frame and the main frame of the trike. Thread the bolt into the plate. So slip the plate through, and the shim, and then the mounting bolt. Next is setting up the length. You're going to want to set it so your leg is fully extended with your heel on the pedal. That way, when you switch to pedal ball of your foot, you have about 10 to 15 degrees bend in your leg. Take the bottom of the derailleur and move it forward on the frame and zip tie it to the frame. This will keep the spring from trying to rip the chain out of your hands when you're running the chain. And then you can take it and run it through the power side chain tube, which is the side with the idler on it. To get that started. Take the bottom of the derailleur and move it forward on the frame and zip tie it to the frame. This will keep the spring from trying to rip the chain out of your hands when you're running the chain. And then you can take it and run it through the power side chain tube, which is the side with the idler on it. To get that started. Next, you're going to take the chain, just roll it across the cog of the wheel. Once you get it around the upper jockey wheel, pull it, go over the top of the other, and then send it through the return chain tube. Make a loop in both sides of the chain so that they don't get sucked back into the chain tubes. And then flip the trike back over. Because this trike has a chain tensioner and a single cog front and back, you will not need to adjust the chain length. Clip the two master links into either end of the chain, and then clip the master links together. You can then clip the zip tie at the back of the trike. The next step is going to be alignment. You'll need a 13mm box end wrench and a tape measure. Loosen the jam nuts on each tie rod end, and this will allow you to adjust the toe in. Next, run the tape measure from the front of one rim to the other. Once you get the toe set, you'll then tighten the lock nuts on each tie rod end. Now that you've got the tie rod adjusted, you can zip tie the cable to the tie rod. Next, we're going to install the fender. For more information on this trike or any other trike, please visit our website at utahtrikes.com.